Hello, world. I guess I have a helper today. Hello, world. How are you doing? I have a bear here who's going to help me with the video, I guess. So I hadn't planned on doing a video tonight, but it was a kind of a nasty day, and I decided I need to get out and walk, and just kind of reminded me of some of the things I teach my people all the time in crisis response. So had my cell phone and decided to record some stuff. But we're going to talk today about stress and some of the simple things that we can do that are so effective that I think sometimes we forget to do. We know it maybe way down, but deep down, but we don't really do it. And these things can make some amazing difference in your life. So, ready to talk about it, buddy? My buddy, aren't you? Yes, you are. How do you like my beautiful hat? It's been raining all day, and been sitting in there watching the Bears lose. Not that I really care. It was a good game though, Bears and Packers. So decided to get off my butt and go for a walk. I want to get out for a walk, so I got my beautiful hat that I that I got in Alaska. My girls hate it. So, but it's Chicago, and it's raining, and it's nasty, and I paid a lot of money for this hat, and I'm going to wear it. Stupid as it looks, I like it. One of those very dreary, soupy days. What's really interesting though, I shot some video the other day. It's really an illustration for life, because so many times we go through life and you just can't see. It just seems so dark and cloudy, and you kind of forget there's a sun shining up there. But it's always interesting when I'm flying out over here. It doesn't matter how thick or soupy or dark it is down here. If you stick with it and get high enough, the sun's always shining on the other side. Well, if it's daytime. But it will break out of that. And if you look at these pictures, you'll see that. So one of the things that, if you look at the research, it's very clear that walking and just movement in general is really, really good for you. One of the things I find with a lot of people that I work with, and whether that's in, after trauma or grief or just general anxiety or whatever people are going through in life, is they're not getting enough exercise. And a lot of times they think, okay, I've got to go, do this intensive workout regimen or do all this other stuff. That is good. And I think we need to have a balance of working with weights. I think weights and weight-bearing exercise are really good for us on multiple levels, especially for us, for men, with our testosterone levels. You need to work those big leg muscles. It's very, very important for us. But just walking and movement. One of the things I got this Fitbit thing that I bought, and it helps me to kind of keep a conscious awareness of it. So whatever thing you choose to use, that's a really important part of that. My wife, it's been a rough week. So it's been unexpected trips and just a lot of stress. We have the hurricane stuff that's still going on, and sending people to help the other territories. But it just reminded me of something that I talked to a lot of people that I work with about how to reduce some stress in their life. And we all live with it. There's no way of getting around it. But there's some things that we can do are really, really simple that really make an amazing difference. And one trick that I learned many years ago from a therapist friend, I was working, actually she was our supervisor, our clinical supervisor at the children's place. And had a pretty stressful job there. We had to work with these kids and families who were highly troubled. We had like 6 weeks to turn them around, stabilize them, or they would get removed from the home. They were very multi-generationally challenged families. So one day I was feeling a lot of stress, and she sensed it, and she pulled me aside. She said, "Hey," she said, "what are you doing tonight?" And I said, "I don't know." She said, "Well, I'd like for you to go to the park, and I'd like for you to take your shoes off and socks off." And she said, "I'd like for you to just walk and feel your feet on the earth." And I was like looking at her kind of like, what? And she said, it'll help you. There's something that kind of almost magical that happens, and it'll just kind of suck the stress right out of your body if you do that. So I left and I went home, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway, because I know she's going to ask me tomorrow. And so I went to the park and took my shoes and socks off and walked around for probably about 20 minutes, half an hour. And amazingly enough, it went away. And so over the years, I really started doing that, incorporating that into my life. And there's something that's very magical that happens. And so tonight when I was out walking around, it was cold. So I took my shoes and socks off, and it was like really, really cold on my feet. But just in a few minutes, I just started feeling that difference. The other thing is I carry a lot of stress in my shoulders up here.
and it's not good. Sometimes I'll get these huge like stress knots, and Jennifer will work on it sometimes for like a half an hour, and it's just they just won't go away. We have this infrared light. Sometimes it'll do it, but I just find myself just bunching up and tensing, especially on some days. And so I carry that, and then it's not good for you. It's not good at any level, and so kind of you hunch up. And so one of the things I've learned to do that if I will go around when I'm walking and do this or do some exercises, especially at the gym, that work those muscles or raise the muscles like this, it really helps. One of the things I'll do is kind of the butterfly things, and so a lot of times I'll walk around in the evenings and do that at the park, and it really makes a huge difference. I was at a conference just a couple weeks ago. We were teaching on stress and anxiety and all that stuff, and one of the guys, trauma actually, we were teaching trauma this year. I was doing this PTSD workshop, and this guy comes up to me who's a retired military. He's in the military service for many years. He's a veteran. Then he also had a lot of really childhood sexual abuse and really tough stuff happen to his life. And I had told him this in class and one time, and he comes up to me, he said, "Hey, what you told me is really working." I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, "You know how you talked about going out and going for a walk and taking your shoes off?" He's like, it really works. And I had somebody else come up to me at another conference in the last 2 weeks and told me the same thing. So one of the things I want to say, we as human beings were designed to get out into nature and to walk. That you had to. If you didn't do that, you didn't survive. You couldn't sit there on your couch with Amazon on your computer and type in that in something and order it, and food shows up on your door, or the pillows or whatever you had to make. You had to catch it. You had to grow it. You had to barter with somebody. You had to walk to the next neighborhood. There were no taxis. There were no things. Even if you wanted to go get the horse, you had to walk your butt out and get the horse and throw a Bridle on it or something. I mean, it was just, and even a horse requires core movement. So as human beings, we were designed for movement. We were designed for activity. You had to climb the hill to get to the berries. You had to plant the seed. I mean, you just had to. And otherwise, you would die. And so now with society, we become so sedentary, and we sit there in these cubicles in our offices with the stress, and we hunch up and we don't walk. And so it's really impacting us negatively. And so I have become very strategic in this past year. I probably wouldn't survive this year if I had it, with building an exercise. For instance, if somebody calls me on my cell phone at work, I get up and I pace the hall. It's a joke at work. They talk about Kevin having the hall. That's Kevin's phone booth, because I just literally walk back and down the hall and talk on my cell. I get called on my cell phone a lot, so I take a lot of calls, and build exercise that in that way. I also don't take the elevator unless I absolutely have to, if I'm carrying a bunch of stuff or whatever. But I walk up and down the stairs, and so minimum I get 10,000 steps per day. It's very rare that I don't hit that minimum. A lot of times I'll hit 10,000 steps by about noon. A couple days I've hit 30,000 steps. I mean, just an activity. And you can infuse that activity into your life. But one of the things is walking. And there's something about that I found that when you're out walking outside in nature, there's a couple things that happen. First of all, some of you are familiar with EMDR, the eye movement reprocessing and desensitizing reprocessing. And so it uses bilateral stimulation. So it started out when Frances Shapiro started that. Actually, she was out for a walk when she discovered, when she comes back, she felt a lot better. Her eyes are moving from side to side as she walked, and I think she didn't capture as much of the whole bilateral movement of your feet.
Oh, that's cool.
Piece of that. So they do the stimulation with the eye. Sometimes you watch your finger, or they have the light bars now, or the pulse sensors for your hands. But where did that come from? She discovered it from naturally what we as human beings are designed to do. So get off our butts, get out of our house, and get out and walk. And especially when you walk with somebody else. When you walk with somebody, you know what you do? You talk. And there's something that's naturally relieving about when you walk and you talk with somebody. We share our stories, and we as human beings are designed to share our stories. We talk about the good, we talk about the bad, we talk about the ugly, right? And so we're wired to do that, and we're designed to do that. And we're not doing that. We just stuff it all inside and it just eats at us. And so I found this many times going out, whether I'm walking with somebody, most of the time I walk alone. Probably 99% of the time I walk alone. That's my renewal time, that's my prayer time, that's my meditation time, that's how I process the world, because I live in a busy world. Like from morning to night, I've got people standing at my door, got people calling on my phone. It's just kind of crazy. Or I'm up front of the class teaching for 6 to 8 hours a day, and it just wears on me. And so the older I get, the more kind of that introverted, that shadow self, because I'm more of an extrovert by nature, but that introverted side of myself, I need that to recoup. I need to regenerate. And so I just challenge you to go outside and take your shoes off, take your socks off, and just walk. Sometimes even in the winter when I'm feeling very out of sorts, I have taken my shoes off and just go out and stand in the snow for a little bit. There's something that's physically grounding. And some people have done some research, and they actually show that there's a level of energy that the body carries, and they really firmly believe that when you take your shoes off and you walk and you touch earth, that our bodies actually ground electrically, and some of that stuff comes out of our body. So I don't know about that, but I do know that we are designed to walk. The other thing is people go spend a lot of money for reflexology. And when you get a reflexology, somebody pushes on pressure points of your feet. Sometimes you hit certain parts of your foot, and it's like really sensitive, and you have to work that out. Well, what happens when you walk? You get a natural reflexology, because when you walk on the earth, it's not perfectly smooth. And so even if you're at the sea, by the ocean and sand, you step on little rocks or pebbles or seashells or something, or if you're walking out in the park, there's always little knots and bumps and stuff. And so it naturally massages your feet. And so I really, really challenge you. There's sometimes, I remember a couple years ago, Jennifer called me, and I was laying on the couch. I was feeling horrible. I just was feeling out of sorts. I didn't feel like sick, like vomiting, throw up, but I just had no energy. I just felt absolutely horrible. And so I decided to go out and walk in the park. And so she called me a couple hours later and said, "How you feeling?" And I was like, "What?" I had forgotten about it. I mean, it was gone, totally and completely gone. So I really challenge you to be intentional about building exercise into your life, and really taking your shoes off and walking in nature sometimes. It will make an amazing difference. No idea how happy I am right now. I just showed you the other place over there where they're doing construction. They took that other swing out. They left this one here. I love these swings. You just sit there. I know my butt's gonna get wet, but that'll make me happy. Hello, swing. There's something about swinging that's so relaxing. I remember being a kid, of course, or sometimes, where you're swinging as high as you can. A lot of times I just like just to sit there, just that rocking movement. Probably something innate deep inside of us for being kids, infants in our mother's womb, rocking back and forth. Yep, definitely wet. You know what? I need to capture this thing, because if you take this thing down and get rid of it, I'm gonna make my own. I love this because when you push on this, it makes it go back and forth. You have to put your feet on the ground. This one doesn't work as good as the other one, but life is good. And all the lights here pop back on the trail. I know it's time to go back. At a certain point in the night, they lock these doors. I really want to spend my night here.